Welcome back to Comedy Hype. This is your segment, No Capital. I'm Marcus Board. Starting off with news of Donald Trump's indictment hitting the headlines, second indictment. Everyone has offered up their own commentary. The commentary comes from the shock that Trump is not legally prohibited from running for president from prison or as a convicted felon. Legally, as a convicted felon, he cannot run. Comedian D.L. Hughley, who's known for speaking out when it comes to issues like this, did not hold his tongue. On Instagram, Hughley would say, wait a minute. So a convicted felon can still run for president, but in most states in America, a convicted felon can't vote for one. Make it make sense, America. So that's what we got today. DL's a little off in the sense that Trump is not convicted. He's been indicted on 37, 38 counts. I don't want to get that wrong, get his lawyers on us. But I think one of the big questions that we have to ask ourselves is, what is the challenge that we're facing as a country when the Republican Party keeps putting forward Trumps and DeSantis's, people who are right there in the middle of January 6th, right? People who are pushing convicted felons out of the electorate like Florida tried to do, people who are challenging us and challenging the Democratic Party in ways that make us have to rethink our strategies and approaches to electoral politics. These are things that we can't necessarily play around with, right? I had a scholar friend, Barbara Ransby, one time explain the difference between Trump and Hillary Clinton at the time, which obviously they're wildly different, but in explaining what the type of voter would need to do to vote for Hillary Clinton, it's the difference between an offensive and a defensive battle. And so she was saying with Trump, we'd be fighting a defensive battle, as we saw. We had to protect our judges. We had to protect our money. We had to protect immigrants. We had to protect everybody. And we couldn't actually fight an offensive battle like we are with Biden and like we would have with Hillary Clinton. How do we get more for people? How do we support people better? And so those differences, I think, are really the baseline of what we have here. But Pierre, what's your take, man? What you got? Tell me about Trump, your boy, DJT.
DJT, wow. My boy, too. I love it. I think we're coming to a time in the last 20 years that the Black votership has risen, exponentially. We've seen a lot more Black voters and even minority voters come out and vote. And I think the legacy of old white men being presidents is being challenged big time. When, Hillary almost won, pretty much. I think she won. Obama won. And the old folks and people who are white, they look like the presidents that's been going, for years, are seeing that they might lose the grip of what they had. And they're willing to do any and everything. Vote for somebody they don't like, and just because they don't look like they look like the person that looks like their family members and so forth. Don't care what they're running on. They just don't want it to change. And they're willing to do anything, vote anything. And it's just up to us, Black people and minorities, to really get out there and vote harder and stronger, because the fight is strong right now. I believe if we fight and continue to fight like we are, within the next 20 years, it'll be a major, major shift. White men would damn near won't even be having a chance. They won't, white American men won't really have a chance. Not have a chance, but they'll be low on it. It'll be an even scale against women and Asian foreigners or whatever, Asians, whatever you're saying, Black people, all that together will be pretty much evenly tilted. You know what I'm saying? Together. So I believe that they're seeing that and they're afraid of it. They're losing their grip of America. And they've seen it in the last 20 years. And now they're really, like I said, willing to vote for any and everybody, even Trump again. You know what I'm saying? Let's bring him back again. It made them feel a certain way when he was there. Minorities didn't like it too much, but white people felt secure with a person like that. He was reckless, he was, ridiculous. And DeSantis is kind of weird that he's voting, getting people who, he's putting, what do you call it? I can't think of it. What's it called? Stuff on ballots and laws that prohibit people that to vote for him, kind of, basically.
So let me chime in. Marcus, let me ask you this, so right now Trump is actually leading the Republican poll. Why do you think we're seeing that? Why do you think, and I think Pierre kind of hit on, his thoughts there a little bit, and Pierre, I'll allow you to expand if you like. But Marcus, let me ask you, why do you think we're seeing that Trump is in the lead despite, I think you said, and I'll say allegedly or reportedly, 37 to 38 indictments? Why do you think that is?
Well, America has always been a white supremacist country. So Donald Trump has shown a proven track record of a willingness to at least publicly endorse segments of the community, white communities, that haven't been supported for a very long time. So it's actually a really interesting dynamic in that as America has made progress, white rural Americans who people used to take care of are not necessarily being taken care of anymore. So as Black people, as women, as other immigrant communities are starting to be more supported by the United States, now you can't necessarily go off to some random place in the middle of South Dakota and get your full fire department, police department, and medical services, right? And so there's this really big shift in how the country is actually operating. And that makes people like Donald Trump, who says, I care about you and what matters to you, that makes him more appealing to them. Is he actually doing anything for them? That's the catch-22. No, he's not actually changing things in their lives, but it makes them feel better to see somebody on TV talking and being an asshole. And so, Symphony, I would say one of the big issues that we're having with Trump is that the media is playing an outsized role in putting him in the spotlight. And so we saw just recently the CEO, I think, of CNN just got let go because he gave him a town hall and let him just run amok in that space. So for you, as somebody who's a veteran in this space, how do you think the media has a responsibility and journalists have a responsibility to get this story right, but also to not spotlight him?
Yeah, no, I think media plays a huge role. As you know, media, anybody who controls media pretty much controls everything, right? I feel like, unfortunately, at this time, headlines, people want to run with the headlines. Nobody reads the article, right? That's what I like to say. Trump is a headline GOAT. People love him because they know they're going to get eyes. They're going to get, people are going to be attracted to it. When you look at COVID during that time, a lot of these outlets were running Trump headlines because they knew Trump was going to bring in the numbers. So unfortunately, he fits into the time that we're in where people love headlines. These outlets love headlines, so they're running with it. But I do think a lot of responsibility does fall on media and these journalists to make sure that they're getting the story right and that we're not just pushing it for the headline because we know Trump is going to do that. So I couldn't agree with you more. I absolutely agree that media plays a huge role in journalists. But Pierre, before we head out, I know I didn't get a chance to hear from you. And Marcus, I appreciate that question as well. Pierre, let me come to you. I know you mentioned a little bit of why you feel like Trump is leading on the Republican side, but I love if you can expand or if there's anything extra that you'd like to say. Why do you think we're seeing that? And are you even surprised that Trump is leading? Is it a surprise?
No, not really. Like I said, and Marcus said it so eloquently that white supremacy, is being challenged, with so many other people getting a chance, to sit at the table from, foreigners, like the LGBT community, women, and all that is getting on the table. And regular white men and white women who are, like I said, fall maybe, in the spectrum of white supremacists, they just feel like, hey, I got to get my man back in there. I felt more comfortable when he was in there, as the president. So I think that's why. And there's a lot of them out there. Just because they don't have missing teeth and shit kickers and some overalls, don't think they're not white supremacists. Some people that you're working with right now at work that feel that way. When they go in that ballot, that ballot booth is all different in there. They smile with you and kiki with you at work, sisters and foreigners and LGBT people, but in that booth, there's a different button they push.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree with you more. I'm very interested to see how this pans out. Something I also like to add, and Marcus, I think this is something to add to your question as well. As much as it falls on the media, I think it falls on the people as well. We have to continue to challenge, and I think Pierre mentioned this earlier. A lot of people are starting to speak up. We're starting to see a lot of Black voters and people kind of challenging the system. So I do think it is up to us to realize when we see BS, to stop bringing our eyes to it, stop, adding value there. So as much as a lot falls on the media, it falls on the people as well. So I think we'll see how the people let this one pan out as we continue to move forward closer to the election.